Do we eat to live, or live to eat? While this question has been asked for ages, today it carries a profound secret that goes far deeper than this simple meal. Many of us mistake gluttony for merely stuffing our faces with food. But where does that insatiable internal urge, that out-of-control impulse, and that identity that constantly cries out for more actually end? Today, we aren't just discussing the stomach. We are examining the hidden behavior that governs it and controls us. Could it be that by losing our self-control, we have turned our appetites into our gods? As we dive into our main topic, we are exploring gluttony. Often, the term is used as a slur, a way to belittle or diminish someone. However, gluttony is more than just an insult. It is a deep-seated issue that defines a person's actions, habits, and character. For many, the word simply conjures the image of someone who eats too much. But this narrow definition does a disservice to the complexity of the issue. We cannot define gluttony by volume alone. It is a deep-seated passion and desire, not just for food, but for anything that exceeds basic necessity. It represents a shift from eating to live to the compulsive state of living to eat. To truly understand this behavior, we must identify the remedy. The primary solution often cited for gluttony is fasting. The current season provides the perfect opportunity to experience the benefits of this medicine. If we view gluttony as a disease, fasting is the path to healing and self-discipline. Our bodies usually speak to us while we eat. When our hunger fades, our body signals that it has had enough. Gluttony, however, is the inability to stop at that enough point. This behavior isn't limited to food. From a psychological perspective, it encompasses an unstoppable, hoarding desire that finds no satisfaction regardless of the circumstances. To see the full picture of gluttony, we must look at 4 critical factors: quantity, type, timing, and purpose. First, let's look at quantity. A person eats, their hunger is appeased, their stomach is full, and the body sends a stop signal. Gluttony is the inability to stop there. This is where excessive intake begins. The second factor is the type of food. This isn't just about having preferences. It's an extreme obsession with specific foods, a die-hard addiction to certain flavors. Third is timing. For those ruled by gluttonous habits, the question of when do I eat carries heavy weight. This is why fasting is so difficult for them. They cannot wait even a few minutes for a meal to be prepared or for bread to be bought. Their struggle doesn't stem from true hunger, but from a frantic, internal craving. The fourth and most important factor is purpose. Why am I eating? Humans eat to stay physically strong and healthy. Food serves no purpose beyond this sustenance of the flesh. As some writers put it, there is a concept called eating for pleasure. While enjoying a meal is one thing, eating solely for the sake of pleasure is another. When the physical benefit is sidelined and pleasure takes the lead, gluttony has taken full control. Gluttony manifests in ways beyond what we put in our stomachs. The logic remains the same, but it expands into other areas of life. The core issues here are proportion and control. Knowing the right proportion means keeping what we need under our own command. Being able to tell yourself, I only need this much, and I'll be fine even if I don't eat right now, is a mark of great strength. However, just like with food, some people suffer from emotional gluttony. These individuals are never satisfied, regardless of the level of emotional fulfillment or pleasure they receive. They lack a satisfied switch. Instead, they fall into a cycle of constant, relentless grasping. Then there is the gluttony of power. People obsessed with being on top are never satisfied, no matter how much authority they gain. They always want more. They always want to remain dominant. There are even those with a gluttony for information and knowledge. The same metrics we used for food apply here as well. These forms of gluttony are driven by what we call psychological pushing factors. Why do we fall into this trap? The reasons are many and complex. Chief among them is a loss of control. Not knowing your limits or understanding what is enough is often a habit formed in childhood. Infants have their own natural rhythms for nursing, sleeping, and burping. Wise mothers don't nurse just because the milk is there or because they can. As children grow into preschool, they are taught to distinguish between mealtime and nap time. This is an early lesson in self-regulation and impulse control. However, some parents, thinking they are being kind, feed their children without limits. In doing so, They may unwittingly be teaching them gluttony. There's a saying, the stomach expands to the size you show it. A poet once captured it this way. They say the belly is wider than the country, and why? Because you watch so many sell their souls for their gut, only to vanish in the end. This means we are training our stomachs to stretch and expect more. This pattern doesn't stop at food. It continues with emotions and other desires. Failing to learn how to say, "I'm full," is the primary reason the stomach expands. Another factor is advertising and marketing strategies. Advertisements use various tricks to make food look irresistible, because our brains are programmed by these ads to expect abundance. The actual food we receive fails to satisfy our senses, pushing us to eat more. This is a calculated marketing tactic that works just as effectively on our desires for status and power. On a psychological level, gluttony often serves as a replacement or a coping mechanism. People use it to vent their emotions or handle the pressures of life. Look at movies and dramas, for example. Especially with teenagers, they sit down with a giant tub of chocolate ice cream when they're sad or angry. This is an attempt to drown one's feelings in consumption. In psychology, this is known as binge eating or emotional eating. It is a sudden, uncontrollable urge to eat. We often meet people who say, "I eat when I'm stressed, sad, or angry." They try to escape internal anxiety by consuming foods high in sugar and fat. Because the brain's reward system releases dopamine, we return to food repeatedly seeking that hit of happiness. We essentially try to fill a psychological or spiritual void with a meal. This behavior doesn't just damage our health, it creates social and psychological crises. One of the biggest issues is the loss of self-confidence. When a person loses authority over themselves, their self-worth erodes. They fall into the mindset of, "I can't control myself, I'm worthless." If we cannot control our own bodies and desires, what can we control? This inevitably leads to self-hatred. Many people end up hating not just their physical shape, but the very self that failed to maintain it. Then there is the social crisis. Today on social media, especially TikTok, watching someone devour a massive tray of food has become content, and we are normalizing gluttony. This destroys communal empathy. If I am insatiable, I will always feel I need more. If I feel I need more, I will eventually start taking from someone else's share. When gluttony and greed grow, empathy for others dies. Everything becomes about the self. From a spiritual perspective, the issue is even more significant. The phrase "their God is their belly" carries immense weight. If we look at the origin of humanity's fall, it began with eating. Humanity fell because they ate what was forbidden. Therefore, gaining mastery over the stomach allows one to master many other things. The inability to control physical desires and impulses often stems from overindulgence. Both food and our bodies are unique gifts, but if we cannot use these gifts properly, they become a curse. When we start measuring everything by our appetites, the gift becomes an idol. Our success, happiness, and satisfaction become tied solely to what we consume. We may work to eat, but the meaning of work is not just eating. If we reduce our careers to a matter of bread, we diminish the value of our lives. When someone was once asked, "How do I overcome temptation?" the answer was simple: guard your stomach, guard your mouth. Guarding the stomach prevents many other failures. This is why fasting holds such a high place in religious philosophy. Fasting is more than just abstaining from food. It is an exercise in self-mastery and the power to say no. Having seen the scope of the problem, the fundamental question is, what is the solution? It starts with practice. It is vital to ensure our children do not grow up to be gluttons. While providing for them is good, we must respect their boundaries when they say they are full. Forcing a child to clean their plate through threats or nagging may inadvertently teach them to ignore their body signals and lead them toward gluttony. Furthermore, as adults, we must lead by example. We cannot tell children not to be greedy while we are overindulging ourselves. Another solution is returning to our traditional values. Cultural norms were established for a reason. For instance, the rule against eating while walking isn't just because the road hates food. It's a lesson in self-discipline, to sit down and eat with dignity. Proper table manners, knowing how much to bite, and not talking with a full mouth, are benchmarks of a person's character. Our values loathe gluttony and teach moderation. In modern times, there is the concept of mindful eating. This means eating without scrolling through a phone or watching TV, focusing entirely on the meal. We must listen to our bodies, recognizing the "I'm done" signal is a great wisdom. Another crucial step is managing our emotions properly. Instead of trying to bury grief, stress, or frustration under a pile of food, we must learn to express these feelings healthfully. Food should not be a sanctuary. Many people feel regret or shame after eating because they violated their own spiritual or health standards. Self-control is the key to preventing this. Fasting is incredibly important here. It is a tool for building the muscle of no. It is a way to prove to ourselves, "I can do this. I will be fine." It helps us reclaim the control we lost, proving that we won't collapse just because a mealtime has passed. Fasting isn't just a spiritual blessing. It is training for every other area of life. As a society, we need to ask, what message am I sending? What kind of generation am I creating? We all have a responsibility to shape a culture that doesn't produce gluttonous people. We must begin thinking about others, our country, and the future. Finally, let me share a story. A famous medical professor once developed technology to shrink the stomach. He did this because people couldn't control their eating to prevent obesity, so he gave them a mechanical fix. But we shouldn't have to go that far. Through our own control, our own will, and our own strength, we can master our appetites. As a great elder once said, "Guard your stomach, and guarding your stomach will guard you from many failures." It's true. A person who has mastered their appetite can master many other pitfalls in life. Today, let's stop and think. Are we leading our stomachs, or are our stomachs leading us? I hope we can all experience the true freedom found in self-mastery and moderation. Let us think beyond our appetites and become people who live for ourselves and for others.